All right, folks. Brandon Chapman today. It's another Theo Night video. In this case, for Tuesday, September 7th, 2021. Does Steph Curry just call the top? If you missed the news today, as you look at Bitcoin, Dogcoin, like just go down the cryptocurrency pathway of all the carnage just laying on the wayside. Steph Curry, of course, asking his peeps for advice on cryptocurrency trading. Is this a sign of a top? I mean, it's got to be something, right? Is Steph Curry a harbinger of things to come when the most wealthiest of our society, people know Steph Curry, right? He's out there asking them, hey, what do I need to know about cryptocurrency? Maybe it's just a ploy. Maybe he's got his own, cryptocurrency lined up to launch here shortly. Who knows? Some NFT token. Who knows? But the fact of the matter is, as you look at the S&P, very, very little excitement today. We're down about 0.41% on the session. We're off of the highs. Not much of any volatility. If you look at the NQ, for example, the Nasdaq 100 did touch off a brief all-time high today as well. So not a lot going on, yet so much underneath the water. As you look at Bitcoin, as I mentioned, Bitcoin down 6.5%. We paired some of the losses intraday. But it's an interesting phenomenon as you look at Bitcoin. You look at gold getting hammered today as well at the session lows. What is going on? Where is this market headed? As you look at some of the volatility measures like the VIX is higher today. Not substantially higher, as the skew, as we've talked many, many times on last Friday, ticked up to 162, one of the highest prints on the skew index we've ever had. What does this tell you? Institutions are among the most leveraged, the most hedged that they've ever been in. The fact of the matter is the market is going to have a hard time expressing that volatility in terms of selling until what? Until we start to break past that point where the market does, or specifically the institutions become less delta comfortable because they're hedged, they're bracing for impact. And it's going to take a bit to get this market knocked off its perch. But you're seeing today, there's traders out there starting to line up to take some of those bets. As we look at the sectors, taking the SPY as a benchmark here, cyclicals really kind of led out today at 0.29%, followed by communications, and followed by technology. Now that makes sense, I guess, right? Because if you think about the names that kind of dominate those things, just look down here at the S&P 100. Netflix, Tesla, Disney, Facebook, Apple, Booking, PayPal, Amazon in there as well. I mean, the fact of the matter is we are being dominated by a very few handful of companies. And as you start to scroll down the rest of the list of the S&P 100, it ain't pretty. It's all down except for a relative few. Netflix going parabolic here. Is there a better indication of where the market stands right now as Netflix is going parabolic and on some decent volume? There's continued to be decent bullish option interest in Netflix, helping to fuel this fire. But again, how much does it have in the tank left? Disney today, right? Go to your happy place. This is one that's been trading in a range for a little while. It's seeing a little pop today on some decent volume. Now, this is one that's kind of backed up by some option interest. Come and look at the trade tab here for 10 SEP. And what you'll see right here, 25,000 volume today against 6,200 open interest on those 10 December 21, 185 calls. And what you'll notice here is that as you dig in throughout the course of the trading day, it came in spurts. But for the most part, around 10:15, this is my time, 12:15 Eastern, that's where you saw kind of a little bit of a flurry come into Disney, and you'll see the resulting volatility come into Disney as well. Some upside kind of call option activity helping to propel Disney. And again, does this have juice left in the tank? Now, if you look at the bigger trend over the course of the last months, maybe this is the beginning of a breakout in Disney. We're currently at resistance. We have a key level up there at 185 that if we begin to take that strike out, we might see things begin to push and maybe have a chance of getting back to 200. But this is very different than we look at stocks like, for example, Facebook here, which is catching a bid today. We're just off an all-time high in Facebook. If you look at Amazon, Amazon's had a phenomenal rally over the last few weeks. There was very, very strong option activity last week, and again, a little bit more today as well. Can we push through that 35.50 area and see things go higher and maybe retest the prior high? That's about your 61% retracement level of the sell-off. And again, there's a lot of critical points where stocks are sitting right now. And again, with the very, for a lack of breadth in the rallying here and the strength of companies or the number of companies heading higher, it's just representative of the market we're in. And then you got Ford up here, up 0.47%. Are you kidding me? I mean, how many cars in the next year is Ford going to produce? Toyota cut them from what, 900,000 to 500,000? I mean, and Ford is just what? It's a few dollars off its high, multi-year high here. I mean, you just get a sense of where the market's perched right now. And again, echoing back to Steph Curry asking for cryptocurrency advice. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people felt really bullish on Bitcoin until today. Is this the final nail in the bull's coffin? Yeah, we're going to have to wait and see. But these are good questions. And the reason why is that there are people lining up to take the downside to the market right now. Take, for example, ARK. Now, is this a tremendous amount of notional value? Maybe not that much. But let's look at the 24 SEP. Okay? We're looking on the put side here, right? So 16,000 contracts traded at the 116. The thing's going for over $1. I mean, that's not an insignificant amount of value that we're seeing here. Close to $2 million traded today on that 116 strike. You come down here and you're seeing some significant size in some of these contracts. Probably some rolling out from September to October. This isn't even aligned with that. This is the 24 SEP expiration. This is a whole nother type of activity coming in today that's not aligned with rolling. And then you come in here, we look at a 1 day, 1 minute. You see it hitting 4,100, right? 4,000, 3,500, 3,500, just throughout the course of today's session. And again, those are the 116 puts. Stocks trading at 124 right now. Now, after hours, we're seeing a little bit of a pop. But again, there's people lining up right now wanting to take their downside shot in case this is it. Let's go to XLK. Kind of circle back here to a daily chart. Again, this is technology, right? This technology sector, the third best performing, basically flat on the session, just off of all-time highs. Well, again, we go to the trade tab here in XLK. It's a 1 oct expiration. And what you'll see in here is a spread trade, right? We got the 157, 147. Costing what? Maybe like $1.50? Again, is that an insignificant amount of money? No. Is it overwhelming? No. But the fact of the matter is, this is stuff that's being placed right now. Some people might say, well, that's a hedge. Sure, it could be a hedge. But it still is representative of those that are taking some downside shots on the market right now, either as a hedge or as a trade. And either way, it's something to stand and take notice of. Okay? And so as we look at the broader market, we're seeing just the lack of strength, the S&P being down, and you look at the kind of these stocks that are kind of holding things up for the moment. You just kind of come to the realization the tenuous perch that many of these stocks are trading on. Doesn't mean they can't go higher, but it makes it interesting. I'm going to throw another stock today, Foot Locker. Foot Locker broke down hard. A lot of the activity came up a bit earlier in the session, but you look at the option time of sales, you'll see 24 SEP, 54 puts bought. And when you go to that expiration, you'll see about 5,400 contracts traded. When did that trade? Again, you start to see this stuff, and I try to update our site's unusual option activity page throughout the session. But this happened earlier, about 9:55, 9:56. Those options went from $1.20 to $1.95. Not bad. And this might just be the first part of this down leg. We had some, last week on Mondelez, for example, some bearish activity breaking to the downside here. Certainly doesn't bode well for the U.S. consumer as a lot of programs are expiring. Maybe there's less money in the funnel for people to buy stuff. Could get interesting. As you look at Clover today, this is one of those high short interest stocks that have had short squeeze in the past. some big activity I called out earlier today on our website. But again, you look at Clover. You look at today's option statistics here, right? 5.7, well, the puts are about 7 times. We're just seeing option activity exploding in here on a company that's had some pretty big short squeezes in the past. I posted a blog post last week or 2 weeks ago on potential companies that could see a short squeeze. This is one of those companies that we saw back here on the 24th with some big activity coming in. It laid down for about a week and a half. Now we're seeing it break out. Where could it go? This might be the first leg. And you see here, we jumped 70% back here, and then another day gapping higher before we saw $12 puts being bought back June. So we'll see whether this continues. Stocks like Clover, INO is another one today that saw some bullish activity, kind of faded from the high a little bit, but it's a pharmaceutical stock making some vaccines that potentially might cover a spectrum. Still a ways off, but people are speculating, right, on areas and particular companies that may have some upside activity. Secondarily, you even got stocks like Altria here, right, that has performed pretty well. We had some big activity back here. We saw it continue today. Even though stock didn't move a lot, we're kind of encountering some resistance up here. Still some relatively bullish activity coming in. And then finally, CCJ. This is one that's been on a tear. Called out last week with some unusual option activity. This thing's continuing to move. And this is one of those things, as you look at the market, you start to see some of this activity come in, and you see all these big numbers in here for December 17. Tens of thousands of 15, 18,000 contracts, all for December. What's it doing? It's just rolling this stuff out, right? There's bullish interest, a little bit of bearish interest over here, but you're seeing people are looking to take profits by rolling, in this case, rolling it out, or start rolling it up out to the $30 strike price in CCJ. Could we see 30? Probably going to be fairly unusual, but this is a good time when you start to see stuff like this, these kind of movement, particularly if you're in it. Look to book profits. And how do you do that? Roll, right? One great way to roll either a spread or an individual option. Roll it to a higher strike price, maybe roll it out and up to a higher strike price if you're bullish, or out and down, or just down if you're bearish and you own puts. The point is, when you see these kinds of moves, it's important you're capitalizing, looking to book those profits. But again, CCJ, I've written up extensively, another stock that's just been up. Saw a lot of follow through with the activity we're seeing today. We're going to kind of wrap things up with the Apple, the activity in Apple. To be honest, I don't really know what to think of this other than it's just crazy, right? 228,000 contracts traded at the 157.50 today. 123, 157. Now, are we seeing just blowout, on average, activity today, about 8% above average. But what you're seeing probably more so than you normally see is a lot of front week activity, which basically suggests they're looking for some volatility in Apple. And today it might be bullish, tomorrow it might be bearish. And as you look at some of the activity in XLK and ARK and that sort of thing, maybe we're starting to kind of, reach a peak here. So watch for Apple. Again, important point to note, watch for volatility in names like Facebook and Apple and Netflix. But more importantly, watch for that reversal. When it starts to happen, we could see the selling really start to pick up in some of these names, albeit, again, a bit against trend. But again, as we look at some of the periphery, how crazy things have gotten, just taking one peek at Bitcoin, you realize that as things are bullish, what goes up must eventually come down. And again, maybe this is just an early indication of maybe the bullish steam running out. Anyway, folks, it's been a pleasure being with you today. It's another Theo Night video. We'll catch you back next week. Thank you.